For today's video tip of the day, I'm going to show you one more tip for maximizing the resistance during supination for curls so that you can build bigger biceps. Now, my last two video tips, I talked about using supination, which is turning the palm up and over at the top of the curl, and how to maximize the resistance during that supination with both dumbbells and cables. Today I'm going to show you yet a third version with bands. Now, the band version is great for anyone who trains at home and doesn't have a set of cables, or even if you do have cables, they make a great alternative. And really, ideally, you want to be using all three forms of resistance, at least free weights, cables, and bands frequently. Now remember, bands provide what's called linear variable resistance. They get harder the further you stretch them. So if we're doing curls where we're focusing on that supination, the top position, to really hit that biceps long head, help to build a bigger biceps peak, bands are perfect because the force is maximized. The resistance is maximized in that position where you're trying to bring the pinky over and really maximize that long head involvement. Now, to do this exercise, you're simply going to step on the bands like you normally would to do band curls. However, what's nice here is you don't need attachments. You can just grab right on to the carabiners. And for my bands, these are my gym strength bands that I'm using here. There's sort of a pivot point where the bands connect to the carabiners. It's perfect placement for where the pinky is going to be. So you want to hold the ends of the gym system bands by the carabiners, or the carabiners up towards the thumb. You're going to start with a neutral grip, and then you're going to have the pinky down where the band material actually connects to the carabiner. This will be a nice pivot point when you're doing the supination. The curl, you can see now you're getting resistance on this side of the hand, which is going to help maximize resistance during the supination, and that's going to help to build a bigger biceps peak. So you're standing on the bands like you normally would, but holding the actual bands instead of handles, and you're just going to do alternating curls, so one arm at a time to focus on really maximizing and feeling the biceps contract during that supination. So you're going to curl up, bringing the pinky up and over so that the thumb that drops down. You're trying to bring the pinky up as high as you can. Elbow will come in a little, that's fine. That really helps to generate the most muscle fibers during that supination. And remember, supination is an important function for the bicep, but unless you have resistance during that motion, it's really not going to be effective for building bigger muscles, in this case, biceps peak. Now remember, the research shows that as you initiate the supination, it comes from the short head of the biceps. That's the inner head. But once the palm gets closer to supination where it's turned up, the more you go, now the outer or long head takes over and provides that supination. That's in the top position. You really want to exaggerate that supination, really trying to drop your thumb down towards your elbow and bring your pinky up as high as you can. Elbow's going to come in a bit. Now the other thing here, think about these benefits of supination, is the fact that when I showed you the other day that what happens, what is causing this motion here, this supination, is the bicep, and I showed you can actually see it. You can see that biceps working when I do that. Now you'll notice that the majority of the muscle fibers that are being used is the end portion, the lower portion of the biceps here. So this is not only a great way to maximize biceps peak development, but for those of you who say, oh, I have short biceps, I want to try to increase some of the mass down towards the elbow. How do I do that? Using the supination technique that I showed you here. Again, go back and watch my video on dumbbell version and the cable version so that you're familiar and can use all versions of the supinating curls where you're maximizing the resistance during the supination. But that can really help you to build up some mass. Again, the length of the biceps, a bit genetic. Basically, your genes are going to decide the shape of your biceps with the length as well as the peak to some degree, but you still, it doesn't mean all hope is lost. I hate these experts who tell you, oh, it's all genetics. Oh, so I'll just give up then, I guess. Okay, thanks. I won't even bother trying to build a biceps peak. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. If you know these little tricks like this to use, it can help make a difference. Look, it's not going to take short biceps and make them ultra long biceps like a Mr. Olympia, but it's going to bring them up to some degree. And really, that's what bodybuilding is about. And again, when I say bodybuilding, I'm talking about getting on stage in posing trunks. I'm talking about building a fitter, leaner, more muscular, and stronger physique. So making little changes makes a big difference in your physique. So yes, give this a try, like I said, to help build a bigger peak and even to help build a longer bicep to some degree, again, like I said, but you can build up more of the mass in certain areas if you know how, guys. It's really boils down to science. Science of bodybuilding. Now the band version, I'd probably throw this one at the end as well, like the cable version. Of course, you could also do this at the very beginning to really focus on feeling the biceps being used during the supination. So either way is fine with bands. On this one, you're not going, remember, bands, that linear variable resistance provides both explosive power that you can build, but it also provides a better peak contraction. And for this one, we're focusing on muscle development. It's those little things that we're trying to develop and build and change. So here you want to use a slow and controlled motion and really focus on that peak contraction, not using the bands explosively in this case, but doing it nice, slow and controlled, really focusing on feeling that peak contraction. So start with 15 to 20 reps, I'd say. And then once you're accustomed to the exercise and really feeling it, and believe me guys, if you haven't done this and you do it properly, you will feel it the next day or two, depending on when DOMs hit you. But you will definitely feel a difference, particularly in that outer head, that long head of the biceps. So let me know how you're liking them. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And as always, guys, stay Gym Army strong.